Hello, ladies and gentlemen. On this evening edition of Real Talk with B, we will discuss the curious case of one Marcus Lynn Betts and the trade from him from the Boston Red Sox to the LA Dodgers, along with David Price. We will also discuss Nancy Pelosi's behavior during the State of the Union that happened a few days ago and that debacle. And we will also discuss the recent news, apparently last evening, that Kevin Garnett, formerly of the Minnesota Timberwolves before he traded to Boston in the year 2007, numbers are going to go up to the Raptors. Now, to give me a moment, I'm going to read a verse from Philippians, verse 3 and 2, that state the following. Do not do anything out of selfish ambition or vain conceit, but in humility consider others better than yourselves. And the 4 states, each of you should not look only to your own interest, but also to the interest of others. That's Philippians verse 2 and 3 and 4. So essentially, what it says there is that you don't want to do anything of your own self-interest. You don't want any ambition, and you should consider. You shouldn't do anything with your own self-interest. You should consider others before making any decisions. So when it came to Mookie Betts clearly gave the Red Sox an offer that made it difficult for them to come through on. So what happened is, when you give an offer, as is reported, and you keep getting these one-year deals, if you're going to get paid over $300 million, you have to sell the team as well. You have to be the face. You just can't go to work and not expect to do all this stuff, because that money has a responsibility. It's not only generational money, but it says a lot about you as an athlete, but also a lot about you as an individual. So you got to be very mindful of what you're asking for when you ask for that type of money, which reportedly, because I'm not there, is supposedly a 420 over 12 years. That's a lot of money. Is the going rate? But the point is, I personally wouldn't have given him the money because of the size. He has a lot of ability, but not only the size would have been the issue, it's the fact that he, over the last few years, didn't want to talk about his contract, wanted to avoid it. He wasn't really in the spotlight talking about how's he going to get this done, what's he going to do, and that jazz. So it made it difficult for the team to really make a commitment to him. So he got traded with David Price, because Price, for financial reasons, they're going to pay half the money, for Verdugo, Jeter Downs, a catcher that escapes my mind right now. And essentially, they got a few position players along with Alex Verdugo, the left fielder, who's going to be out for the first few months of the season. But in essence, and the Red Sox signed Kevin Pillar to play defense. So he can play right field or center, doesn't matter. Now that's the Betts, and he hit 20 home runs. So you look at a situation like that, Betts batted 285 with like 29 home runs and 80 RBIs. And Pillar batted about 260 with about 20 home runs and about 60-something to 70 RBIs in that ilk. Or maybe, or a little more. So essentially, you're getting the defense and the pop, just not the consistency. And I know Mookie led the league in runs scored, but that's neither here nor there. So on the verdict on the Mookie thing, Marcus Lynn Betts, I would have traded him, not just for financials, just because he didn't want to have the whole gambit of being the face of your franchise. Now, Nancy Pelosi, in the same situation, kind of with the verse. There's an ambitious quality. She knows Trump for years. Trump has donated to her, in a sense, because, Trump has been part of the New York conglomerate. He knows the people. He's probably donated to Schumer. I'm just throwing out because that's part of the dynamic here. That's part of the witchcraft and the nonsense that's going on here. That he has donated to these politicians that are now turning his back for simply favor because of what Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and the movement of the Democrats want to push, where it's like, oh, we want this type of stuff that is democratic socialism, but it's not actually Venezuelan socialism or even socialism here, but socialism is socialism. But the point with Pelosi is you don't rip a guy's speech, you don't make a mockery of the situation because you don't agree. You understand? You do something out of the goodness of your heart, and you don't make a spectacle to get cable applause from cable news that it's your house and he's disrespected you. Trump has garnered this behavior, but at the same time, also, Pelosi has not giving him. Pelosi's making it worse by even being more of a deterrent to what he's trying to do, because when you're the president of the United States, you need all the help you can get, and I think what Pelosi is doing is equally damaging in terms of her insistence on trying to impeach the president to the Democratic Party and not allowing Donald John Trump to do his job, and understanding they needs to find a balance because he's really playing a character as a Republican, but he's like the president of everybody. It's just that he's not an insider, so he's going out of this, winging it, doing what he can do, and it's tough because a lot of what he says is tough, but at the same token, it shouldn't be taken in the matter it's been taken constantly. But the Pelosi's been in Congress and he knows the person. She can't have one face and another face. It's got to be the same system. So the verse says you don't want to have ambition in those verses, so you want to be very careful. So that's that. And Kevin Garnett to the Raptors. And with the Celtics, number 5. It's a little give and take, but that's how the Celtics operate, the Boston Celtics. So he gave himself for the team. He was more defense. His whole reputation, his whole career is that he passed the ball too much. He gave too much of himself. So it was difficult for him to not be a selfless player. And then when he got to Boston over lean years with in the early 90s and 2000s, where the team was trying to make it with personnel that wasn't up to snuff, and he came in and changed the culture with Ray Allen and Paul Pierce, who was there, and James Posey, Eddie House, and Rondo. They all made a whole thing, and P.J. Brown was a big help, and Sam Cassell. The whole team in themselves, he created the environment where there's a seat, and Scalabrini as well, and he's an analyst. It's like they all did their part in order for them to be successful. And I'm thinking about Leah and Pozo. There's a bunch of players, but the point is he created the atmosphere along with Ray Allen and Paul Pierce. But he was the main head. The intensity, the passing nature. I mean, when they're complaining to you about not passing the ball enough, it's one thing. So, you're passing the ball too much. So if that's a complaint that you would have about a player, it's you can only imagine. So you want to make things better for your teammates, and he brought an intensity, he brought a spirit that enabled the Celtics to compete for 3 years. I mean, they won that first championship, then they had that run where they won like 27-2, then he got injured, then they got bought out in Orlando that year, then they made the finals again. So it was a really solid 3-year run with a couple more appearances in between. Below the first couple years, I mean, they were literally the best team in basketball consistently. So he cultivated that because of his size, his ability to shoot, pass, and everything. He demanded of others what else can do. So as far as the retirement, I mean, it's the Celtic standard. Me personally, it's kind of like, I don't know, but since it's already there, I'm on the fence about it. I'm leaning towards no, but in terms of the Celtics, this is how they operate. Because he wasn't there enough. He brought the championship, but if you're looking at it, it's probably a no. It's probably a no for me if I was running the organization. But that's how the Celtics operate. He have enough equity. A half dozen years isn't enough. But in terms of the impact, of course, you can make an argument, but it doesn't hold weight because of the longevity aspect. One thing for Pierce to have his number in the Raptors, But if he's gonna get it, then you should put Ray Allen in there. And nobody's claiming for Ray Allen at this point because of the whole thing with the Miami Heat. He left, and people forget that Danny Ainge tried to trade him and all that. So with these verses, you don't want to have selfish ambition, and you wanna think of others before yourself. And you don't wanna do things in vain. So all these things have a reaction and an opposite reaction. So whatever you say and testify, whatever you do, can come back to really affect you. So you gotta you gotta stand firm in your beliefs, and you gotta believe in yourself, and you gotta believe in your principles and what the Lord has put in front of you. So those are the 3 topics. If you have anything to comment or you're interested, just drop something down below, and I'll be happy to correspond. But other than that, this has been Real Talk with me, and blessings.